You broke it, you fix it. Don't expect me to come down there and smell like smoke. That is what my mother said to me while I stood barefoot on the pavement, watching my bakery burn to the ground. It was 3 in the morning. The heat was searing my face. Sirens were screaming, and I was begging her for help. I thought she would panic. I thought she would drive over in her pajamas, but she was not worried about me dying. She was annoyed that I woke her up. I told you that little hobby was a waste. She sighed into the phone. I am going back to bed. The line went dead. I stared at the screen. Call duration. 3 minutes, 17 seconds. I did not cry. I did not call back. I just took a screenshot. Because right then, watching the roof collapse into a pile of ash, I realized something. The fire did not just destroy my shop. It burned the last bridge back to her. In the Carter household, love was not a feeling. It was a transaction. And for as long as I can remember, I was the one paying the bill. I did not grow up with bedtime stories. I grew up with eviction notices because Gerald, my stepfather, had bad luck at the track. I spent my 20s working double shifts as a waitress, smelling like grease and exhaustion, just to cover his gambling debts. I remember handing my mother an envelope with $2,000 in cash, my entire savings for college. She did not say thank you. She just counted it, frowned, and said it was not enough to buy the Louis Vuitton purse she needed for her image. I was not a daughter to them. I was a retirement plan with a pulse. But the real trap was set 2 years ago. When I finally saved enough to open Sweet Haven, the bank required a cosigner. Brenda and Gerald stepped up with smiles that were too wide, too bright. We believe in you, Tessa, Gerald had said, patting my shoulder. We just want to protect our investment. I was so desperate for their approval that I did not read page 42 of the loan agreement. I did not see the rider they slipped in. A key person insurance policy, and a bloated property coverage clause. If the bakery failed, they got nothing. But if the bakery burned down, the payout was $450,000. Sole beneficiaries: Brenda and Gerald Carter. They did not bet on my success. They bet on my destruction. 24 hours after the fire, I drove to their house. I had nowhere else to go. My clothes were stained with soot, and the smell of wet ash clung to my hair like a second skin. I walked up the driveway of the house I had paid to save 3 times over. Brenda opened the door. She did not hug me. She put a hand on her chest and took a step back. Stop right there, she snapped. Do not take another step. We just installed white carpet in the foyer. You reek of smoke. Mummy? I lost everything, I whispered. I just need a shower. Use the hose in the garden, she said, reaching for the door handle. I can't have guests smelling that mess on Saturday. Saturday? Inside the house, I heard Gerald's voice. He was not crying. He was laughing. Yes, the platinum room, he boomed into the phone. Top shelf liquor. Only the best. Money is no object now. He hung up and clapped his hands. Through the crack in the door, I saw him high-five the air. I looked at my mother. Her face was not swollen from crying. It was fresh, powdered, and annoyed that I was blocking her view of the driveway. The realization hit me harder than the heat of the fire. They were not mourning the death of my dream. They were celebrating the arrival of their paycheck. I left my parents' house shaking. Not from the cold, but from a rage so hot it made my vision blur. I drove straight to the one place that felt safe. Dante's apartment. Dante was not just a security specialist. He was the only person who had visited my bakery for the coffee, not the free handouts. He saw the soot on my face and didn't ask about the carpet. He just handed me a mug of water and opened his laptop. The DVR was in the back office. Dante, I said, my voice cracking. It melted. The fire marshal said it was a slag heap. There is no footage. Dante did not type. He did not panic. He just looked at me with that calm, steady gaze he always had. Tessa, I know you, he said gently. You forget passwords like you forget to eat lunch. When I installed that system, I didn't trust you to manage the backups alone. I set myself up as a secondary admin for maintenance. I never revoked my own access. He hit one key. The DVR is gone, he said. But the cloud is forever. The screen flickered. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. A video file appeared. Timestamp: 2:45 in the morning. 30 minutes before the fire alarm screamed. I watched, holding my breath. The back door opened. A figure stepped inside. They did not pick the lock. They used a key. I knew that walk. I knew the hunch of those shoulders. It was Brenda. She was dragging a red jerry can. She walked straight to the main electrical junction box, the one place the investigators would blame on faulty wiring. She poured the liquid. It splashed onto the floor, dark and slick in the night vision camera. Then, the camera caught the doorway. Gerald was standing there, checking his watch, looking bored. He was not the lookout. He was the supervisor. My mother lit a match. The screen flared white, then cut to black. I sat there, frozen. The silence in Dante's room was heavy, suffocating. I had just watched my mother try to kill me financially. Then, my phone buzzed on the table. A notification. Brenda Carter mentioned you in a post. I picked it up. My hands were trembling so hard I almost dropped it. It was a selfie. Brenda, eyes red, holding a tissue, looking into the camera with practiced devastation. The caption read, "My heart is shattered. My baby girl Tessa lost everything she worked for in a tragic fire last night. We are doing everything we can. But we need help. Please, if you have a heart, donate to help her rebuild." Below it was a link to a PayPal account. Her personal PayPal account. She was not just an arsonist. She was a vampire. She had burned down my life, and now she was feeding on the sympathy of strangers to line her pockets. Dante saw the post. His jaw tightened. He reached for his phone. "I am calling the detectives," he said. "We have the video. We have the motive. They are done." I reached out and covered his hand. "No," I said. The shaking in my hands stopped. A cold, hard clarity settled over me. If we call the police now, they will lawyer up. They will cry desperation. They might even get a plea deal. I looked at the freeze frame of my mother holding the match. "I do not want them to just go to jail, Dante. I want them to lose the reputation they care about more than me. I want them to fall from the top. You cannot con an honest man. But you can destroy a greedy one with a single email." Dante did not have to hack the bank. He just had to tickle Gerald's gambling addiction. He logged into the insurance portal using the password Gerald had taped to his monitor years ago and triggered a standard automated notification. It was not a fake letter. It was a real status update. Subject: Claim valuation estimate. Body: Based on policy terms, the estimated payout value is $450,000. Status: Pending final review. A rational person reads pending review and waits. A desperate gambler reads $450,000 and starts spending. Gerald did not wait 20 minutes. He called Legrand, the most expensive venue in the city. He did not just book a table. He booked the Sapphire Ballroom for their 30th wedding anniversary. He put the $30,000 deposit on 3 different credit cards, maxing them out completely. He was betting on a horse that had already broken its leg, convinced the prize money was in the mail. Then came the text from my mother. She had not spoken to me since blocking me from her house. "No, are you okay? No, did you find a place to sleep?" Just a demand. "We are hosting a gala on Saturday. People are asking questions. You need to be there to show family unity. Wear something decent. And bring those old digital photos of us for the slideshow. I want people to see how happy we are. Do not embarrass me." I read the text twice. She wanted me to be a prop. She wanted the grateful daughter standing next to the benevolent parents to sell the lie to the community. She wanted a slideshow of happy memories to distract from the smell of gasoline. "She wants a slideshow?" I asked Dante. He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "Give her the best show she has ever seen." I took a sleek, silver USB drive. I created a folder named Family Memories. Inside, I did not put the photos of our trips to the beach or my graduation. I put one single file. The high-definition security footage of my mother pouring accelerant into my life's work. I put the drive in my purse. It weighed less than an ounce, but it felt heavier than a sledgehammer. "I will be there, Mom," I whispered to the empty room. "And I promise, nobody will ever forget this party." The Sapphire Ballroom smelled like expensive perfume and desperation. 100 guests filled the room, sipping champagne that Gerald had bought on credit. There were crystal chandeliers, white roses on every table, and a massive banner that read 30 years of love. It was perfect. It was expensive. And it was all a lie. I stood in the playa, wearing black, watching my parents work the room. They were in their element. Gerald was laughing too loud, slapping backs, acting like a tycoon. Brenda was playing the tragic saint, dabbing her dry eyes with a silk handkerchief whenever someone mentioned the fire. Then, the lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the stage. Brenda walked up to the microphone. She looked beautiful, I will give her that. She knew how to wear a mask. "Thank you all for coming," she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound authentic. "As you know, our family has been through a tragedy this week. My daughter, Tessa." She paused, looking down at the floor. "She has always been troubled. The fire was an accident, of course. But as parents, we will not abandon her. We will use our savings to help her rebuild. Because that is what family does." A murmur of sympathy rippled through the crowd. I saw Aunt Margaret wiping a tear. It was time. I walked over to the DJ booth. The guy was young, maybe 22, wearing oversized headphones. "Hey," I said, flashing a small, sad smile. "My mom asked me to play this special video tribute right after her speech. It is a surprise for my dad." He did not check the file. He did not ask for ID. He just saw a daughter doing a favor. "Sure thing," he said, taking the silver USB drive. "I will cue it up now." I walked back to Dante, who was standing near the exit. He held his phone up, his thumb hovering over a button. "And now," Brenda said, beaming at Gerald. A look back at 30 years of happiness. The giant projection screen behind her flickered. The happy anniversary graphic vanished. The room went black. Then, a grainy, high-contrast video appeared. It was not a wedding photo. It was a timestamp. 2:45 in the morning. A collective gasp sucked the air out of the room. On the massive screen, 10 feet tall, everyone saw it. My mother, wearing her distinctive trench coat, walking into the back of my bakery. She was not holding a bouquet. She was holding a red jerry can. In the video, she splashed the liquid over the electrical panel. Gerald stepped into the frame, checking his watch, looking bored. The silence in the ballroom was absolute. You could hear the ice melting in the buckets. Then, Dante pressed the button. Ping. A phone rang. Then another. Then 10. Then 50. A wave of chimes and buzzes swept across the room as 100 guests received a mass text message. Attached was the official fire investigator's report and a copy of the forged insurance policy. Brenda turned around. She saw herself on the screen, pouring gasoline. The mask did not slip. It shattered. "No!" she screamed, her voice shrill and ugly. "Turn it off. It is fake. It is AI. She faked it with AI." She pointed a shaking finger at me. "My daughter is sick. She did this with a computer." But nobody was looking at me. They were looking at the screen, where the Brenda in the video struck a match and watched my life burn. Gerald did not scream. He ran. He tried to bolt for the kitchen exit, but in his panic, he tripped over a thick speaker cable and went down hard, crashing into a table of champagne flutes. The sound of shattering glass echoed like a gunshot. The double doors at the back burst open. Detectives Miller and Vance did not stride in like movie cops. They walked in fast, businesslike, holding a piece of paper that was not an invitation. "Brenda Carter," Detective Miller announced, his voice cutting through the chaos. "You are under arrest for arson in the second degree and insurance fraud." Brenda tried to pull away as he grabbed her wrists. "Get your hands off me. I am the victim. I am the mother." Click. The sound of handcuffs locking is distinct. It is metal on metal, final and cold. I stepped forward, just enough for her to see me. I did not yell. I did not have to. I just held up my phone, showing the screenshot of our 3-minute call. "You were right, Mom," I said, my voice carrying over the murmurs of the crowd. "You told me to fix it." So I did. The unraveling was not slow. It was instant. At the precinct, I sat in a plastic chair, drinking lukewarm coffee while the world crashed down on Brenda and Gerald. The insurance company did not waste time. Their lawyer arrived within the hour, looking less like a person and more like a shark in a suit. He did not even sit down. He just stood over Gerald, who was handcuffed to the table, still wearing his tuxedo. "Mr. Carter," the lawyer said, his voice flat. "Clause 14. Section B. Any act of intentional malice or fraud by the policyholder voids all coverage immediately." Gerald's face went gray. "But the fire happened. The building is gone, and so is the policy," the lawyer replied. "We are denying the claim in full. Furthermore, we will be suing you for the investigative costs." That was the first domino. The second one fell harder. Because Gerald had been so sure the money was coming, he had not just booked the party. He had leveraged the house. He had taken out a high-interest bridge loan to pay off his bookie, using the guaranteed insurance payout as collateral. Now, there was no payout. There was just a $30,000 bill for a party that ended in handcuffs and a pile of gambling debts that the bank was already moving to collect. They were not just going to prison. They were going to prison homeless. I walked past the interrogation room on my way out. Brenda saw me. She pressed her face against the glass, her mascara running in black streaks down her cheeks. She was mouthing something. "Bail. Pay bail. Help us." I looked at the detective. "Do they have a bond set?" $50,000 each, he said. "Do you want to sign for it?" I looked at my mother. I thought about the 3 minutes and 17 seconds she left me standing in the cold. I thought about the red jerry can. I thought about the fake tears on the stage. "No," I said clearly. "I don't think I will." I turned my back on them. I walked out the double doors into the cool night air. Dante was leaning against his car, twirling his keys. "It is over?" he asked. I took a deep breath. The air did not smell like smoke anymore. It smelled like rain, and asphalt, and freedom. "It is over," I said. "Let us go get tacos. I am starving." The gavel did not sound like it does in the movies. It was not a thunderclap. It was a dull, wooden thud. But that thud was the sound of a heavy door closing on 31 years of suffocation. The court date was 3 months after the fire. I sat in the back row, wearing a dress I bought with my own money, watching 2 strangers in orange jumpsuits. They looked smaller without their designer clothes and their arrogance. The judge was not swayed by Brenda's tears or Gerald's claims of ignorance. The evidence was absolute. Brenda Carter was sentenced to 6 years in state prison for arson, in the 2nd degree, and insurance fraud, with eligibility for parole after 4 years. Gerald received 4 years for conspiracy and fraud. But the real sentence was the financial ruin. The court ordered restitution of $142,000 to the insurance company for investigative costs and legal fees. Since the policy was void, they had no protection. The bank foreclosed on their house the following week. The white carpet Brenda was so worried about? It belongs to the bank now. The community reaction was swift. The neighbors who had attended the anniversary party, the ones who had sipped the champagne, turned their backs. The perfect couple was exposed as a fraud. There were no more galas, no more admiration, just whisper and shame. For the first time in my life, I was not the one paying the price for their mistakes. 6 months later, a letter arrived at my new apartment. The envelope was plain white, stamped with the seal of the state correctional facility. The handwriting was unmistakable, small, neat, and sharp. I sat at my kitchen table and opened it. "My dearest Tessa," it began. "I forgive you for what you did. I know you were confused. I am suffering in here, but I am offering it up for our family. I need you to put money on my commissary account. I am still your mother." I read it twice. In the past, those words would have crushed me. "I forgive you" was her favorite weapon, a way to twist reality, until I apologized for her cruelty. I would have felt guilty. I would have sent the money. But as I sat there, listening to the hum of my new refrigerator, I felt something strange. Nothing. I did not feel anger. I did not feel sadness. I felt the indifference of a stranger reading a piece of junk mail. I did not finish the letter. I walked to the trash can and dropped it inside. I did not even shred it. It was not worth the electricity. That evening, Dante came over for dinner. We did not eat at a fancy restaurant. We made tacos in my small kitchen, laughing as we chopped tomatoes. He is not just my security specialist anymore. He is my partner. He is the person who checks the locks not because he is afraid, but because he wants me to feel safe. This is my life now. It is quiet. It is modest. But it is mine. If you are watching this, and if my story made your chest tight because it felt too familiar, I need you to listen to me. Trauma bonding is a powerful chain. We are biologically programmed to seek love from our parents, even when that love is a weapon. When they hurt us, the child inside us does not think, "They are bad." We think, "I must be bad." We spend decades trying to be good enough, rich enough, or successful enough to earn a love that they are incapable of giving. I spent 5 years building a bakery to prove I was worthy. They burned it down for a check. Here are the 3 rules I learned from the ashes. Rule number 1. Biology is not destiny. Sharing DNA is a biological accident, not a life sentence. Family is a title that is earned through behavior. Family is the person who holds your hand when you are shaking, not the person who hands you the bill. You are allowed to fire your parents. You are allowed to resign from the job of being their victim. Rule number 2. Receipts over tears. In a toxic dynamic, your emotions are their fuel. They want you to cry, scream, and argue, because that proves they still control you. Do not give them that satisfaction. When you decide to leave, do not explain yourself. Document everything. Save the texts. Keep the bank records. Screenshot the calls. In the world of gaslighters, your memory is fallible, but your evidence is invincible. Rule number 3. The best revenge is solvency. I used to think revenge meant making them suffer. I was wrong. Revenge is making yourself succeed. I did not burn their house down. I just refused to pay for it. I let them spend money they did not have, and I let the consequences do the heavy lifting. Financial independence is the only wall they cannot climb. When you control your own resources, they lose their leverage. I am Tessa. I am 31 years old. I am a baker, a survivor, and a free woman. If you are setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, stop. Let them freeze. You deserve to be warm too. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have ever had to cut someone off to save your soul, tell me in the comments. I want to know I am not alone.